are special times in the life of our country and in the life of our state. These are also particularly challenging times in our own lives. First of all, as citizens, and then even more so as pastors and leaders of our different flocks. Because every day when we get up, it is the challenges of other people that come to us. And I always say to people that if you want to know the medical problems in a community, don't talk to the patient, because the patient only knows what is wrong with himself. Talk to the doctor, because the doctor sees several patients and he understands whether at any given point there is more malaria or more ulcer or more headache among the people, because all the patients come to the doctor. In the same vein, if you want to know the difficulties that people are going through, talking to one person did not actually give you a clear idea of the challenges that people face. But anybody who talks to the pastors will know what people are going through. Because when people have problems, whether it is economic, whether they feel it's spiritual, whether they feel it's financial, whether they feel it's matrimonial, domestic, children, it is to you, the pastors, that the people will turn. And therefore, you're in a better position than some of us to actually have a clear idea of the kind of challenges that Rivers people are facing at this time. Luckily, Your Grace and my Lords, this time coincides with a time when something very significant is also happening in the life of our nation. And that is, we're going to have general elections. It has often been the position of the church that the church is not involved in politics. I agree, and nobody wants to drag the church into politics. But I understand not being involved in politics as in the church is not involved in partisan politics, and the church will not take sides in the politics of the country. But it is important that we realize that when Nigeria works, when Rivers State works better, it works better for all citizens. And members of the church, leaders of the church, are also citizens. When it does not work, and when it is not working well, it is also not working well for all citizens. And you and your flock and the people who follow you and look up to you for leadership and inspiration are among those who suffer when things do not work well. Therefore, at a time like this, it is important that you as leaders of men and as leaders of the church should have a clear understanding of the challenges and opportunities that confront our society. And I therefore thought it wise that I should, in this consultation, be clear and open to you as to why we're gathered here and what I think you need to know about what is going on. Like I said, general elections are going to hold in this country next year. And this general election is different from every other general election in many ways. First, there is a new Electoral Act that has practically changed the political landscape and the electoral landscape of our country. Previously, citizens were not interested in the politics or in the elections because they always felt that regardless of what they think and regardless of how they vote, at the end of the day, whatever those who have the power and the means and the position in the society have decided is what will happen no matter what the people see. And that was what gave birth to the word in our electoral lexicon that was called carry go. Today, by virtue of the passage of the new Electoral Act, there is no more carry go in our politics. There is no more carry go in our politics. The Electoral Act has brought out a new dimension into voting. Voting now is by electronic accreditation, by use of a BFAS machine. In other words, it will be one man, one vote. And so the use of that machine has shown the entire world that where there is electronic accreditation and where there is one man, one vote, it is the people and nobody else that decides their own fate. It is what you decide and what you accept that will happen. It is what the people of Rivers State will decide that will happen in Rivers State. The use of this technology in elections across Africa has yielded very surprising results. Just a few days ago in Kenya, the sitting president was supporting one of the most popular and the most seasoned politicians in Kenya, who has contested the election in Kenya several times. And everybody felt that this time around, with the support of the president, it was a stroll in the park for him. But at the end of the day, the Kenyans thought otherwise, and they decided otherwise. And as we speak today, it is the decision of the people that stood. That is our expectation in Nigeria. That is our hope in Rivers State, that it is the people of Rivers State that will decide the future of Rivers State. And to that effect, therefore, it is important that as many people as possible should have a clear understanding of the options and the choices that we face moving forward. Your Grace, my name is Magnus Abe. My father, late Reverend Canon A.L. Abe, was a priest of the Anglican Church. I was born in 1965 and I grew up in the church. My father was the pastor as at when we came back from the Civil War in Yege, where I started my primary education. All of you here know the life of an Anglican priest. At that time, my father was being paid 96 naira a month, which even at that time was way below the minimum wage of that era. 96 naira a month was what my father was earning, less than 100 naira. But the church provided a lot of things that you could not get even with 96 naira outside. First, the church gave him accommodation, and so we had comfortable quarters to live in Yege, where I grew up. When we left Yege, we moved to Okrika, St. Peter's Church in Okrika, Anglican Church. My father was a pastor there, and the church also gave us one of the finest houses at that time in Okrika, with flowers, very clean environment, built by the colonial masters. But my father was still earning 96 naira a month. But because of the kind of government that existed in Rivers State at that time, myself, my siblings, my father had 6 children at that time. Myself and my siblings were able to get quality education in Rivers State. My father never had to go to any politician. He never had to go to anybody to go and beg when he was ill or when he needed school fees or whatever. Because the government at that time provided social services that made it possible for the son of a pastor on 96 naira a month to speak the kind of English that I'm speaking today before you. That was because the government provided services to the people. My brother became a medical doctor. My sister became an engineer. My other sister became an architect. All of us grew up to become graduates and responsible citizens of this country. But we were children of the poor in the proper term. But because the government worked, we had opportunities that ordinarily would not be open to children whose parents are in similar circumstances today in our state. But the government of Rivers State at that time did not have 13%. There was no, the kind of money that we have now in the government did not exist at that time. But the government had prudent, careful, committed people in the government who put the interest of the people above their own interest, and who served those who were not in the government. The government at that time did not serve only those who were in government. In those days, when I left the secondary school and I was to go to university, my eldest sister was chief environmental health of this state. And because of her position in the civil service, the government gave her a one-bedroom flat in D-Line. And because of that one-bedroom flat in D-Line, I was able to live in D-Line and interact with the children, sons and daughters of the who is who in Port Harcourt and in Nigeria. That's how I got to know all of them, because the government at that time was conscious enough to provide a one-bedroom flat for a staff of the Ministry of Health. Today, how many civil servants in our state are being housed by the government? Today, how many children in similar circumstances, such as the one in which I found myself, are being provided opportunities by the government of River State? We are going into another election. It is time for us to make crucial and critical choices about the future of our state. And having looked at this whole thing, I decided, Your Grace, that it is time for us to offer the people of River State alternatives that they have not seen before. I decided that I, Senator Magnus Abe, I will put myself on the ballot and say to you all that there are possibilities that exist, because it is your responsibility to choose the direction of our state, and we can make choices that will affect our own lives and affect the lives of our children. Your Grace, I have served this state in several capacities. I was first and foremost minority leader of the River State House of Assembly. At the end of that service, I was voted the best legislator of my time, and I was so honored because of my contributions to the legislature. I was appointed Commissioner for Information in the government of Sir Dr. Peter Odele, and I served in that capacity. At the end of my tenure, I was voted by the entire media in the state as the best ever Commissioner for Information in the history of River State. No commissioner for information in the history of our state was ever honored in that manner, and none has been so honored after me, based on the contributions I made. I'll even tell you a very simple story, which actually resulted in why the media gave me that award. When I was Commissioner for Information, when I became Commissioner for Information, the government at that time had a very bad press with the local press and the press in the state. They couldn't see eye to eye, they couldn't pass on the same road. So I now started inviting the local media houses and all the media houses. And every month, I will call all of them for a briefing where I will discuss the policies and challenges and issues in the government with them and answer all their questions that they had to ask. So at the end of that meeting, I will find small thing and put in small envelope and give to them. And so because of that, they didn't play with the meeting. Once the meeting was ready, everybody must attend the meeting. So one time, I couldn't arrange the meeting. You know, that month we didn't hold the meeting. I was busy and I wasn't able to put myself together. So the whole press now decided that the money they were giving me to give to them, I was eating the money, I didn't hold the distance. So they said they held a meeting and decided that they were going to report me to the governor. Now, some of them who were close to me now ran to me to say, oh, they say they are going to report me to Dr. Odele. They have told them that they should not report me, I'm their friend, this and that. I said, no, they should go ahead and report. They should leave them, let them go and report. So they went to Sir G.T.G. Toby, who was the deputy governor, and reported the matter. And Toby, who was like a father to me, was a very upright person, went to Dr. Dili and told him that this is what was going on and that I had not held that briefing. So he was shocked and said, no, you should call all of them to a meeting. And they came for that meeting in the old brick house and invited me. So even up to when they were to hold the meeting, they were still fighting about, no, they should not report me. I said, no, they should report. So we got to the meeting and they reported to Dr. Dili that, this and that, but it's not. So only when they finished, Otley now said that he heard the story. And that the reason he called them is that he was actually shocked that he never knew that I was doing that. And he had never given me any money to do anything like that. That he just called them to thank me in front of them for the sacrifice that I was making. And he didn't know where I was getting the money from to do that. And now called his ADC, Isaac Oyeso, and directed the ADC that from that day, every month he should give me that money to hold that meeting. So the meeting that was actually called to disgrace me and embarrass me, because of my outstanding service, became a meeting that elevated and ennobled me even before the press. And so, from there, I now went back to Dr. Dili and said, okay, since you have approved this thing, let us put it in the budget as a line item in the River State budget. And we inserted it into the budget of River State called Commissioner's Monthly Press Briefing. Since I left, nobody knows what has happened to that line item. It is still there in the budget, but nobody utilizes it for the purpose for which it was meant when it was introduced by me. It was because of this and several other reasons of outstanding service that the entire media voted me the best commissioner for information ever in the history of the state. During my time as secretary to government, I was the secretary to the Security Council. And it is on record that during my time as secretary to the Security Council, the security funds in this state were spent in a manner that actually saw a great difference between the security before we came in and when we were there. A lot of things were introduced. The 911 call, which 119, 112 or something, the emergency call numbers, 112, which was managed by my office, and people would call me any given point of the day or night, and I responded. There were several other things, other innovations that we brought about that brought great sense of security to this town in the midst of a very tumultuous period. But a lot of those things today no longer exist. But the money for all those things are still there. I can go on and on and on. But the reason I am saying this is that when I say that we can run a government in which those in the government will serve those that are outside, I know what I am talking about, and I'm not saying anything that is far from the life I have lived in public service. I want to say here before all of you that I served two governors at very close quarters. One is Sir Dr. Peter Obi. The other one is Right to the Chibike Rotimi Amechi. And I have said publicly time and time again that throughout my time in the service of River State, I never inflated any figure and took 1 naira behind anybody. I never took 1 naira from River State government without the knowledge of the governors that I was serving. And I challenge anybody. They are not my friends today, so if I'm lying, they could say that. But I am telling you that that is the record of service that I bring to Rivers people. That we can do these things better, and we can do it in a manner that the government will run for the benefit of those who are not in government. That is something that we can achieve. Your Grace, I want to say again that Rivers State today is like a bus, and we, the people of Rivers State, are the passengers in this bus. It is our right, it is our privilege to decide where we want to go. When you leave your house in the morning and say you are going to Warri or you are going to Lagos, and you enter a bus, and the driver begins to drive the bus to Enugu, you don't say anything. When you get to Enugu, the driver comes down, another driver enters the bus and begins to face Bori. You still don't say anything. Then, now when drivers come down, it is not just that another driver will enter. They want to bring a driver who the driver himself does not know where he is going. It is the former driver that will now tell the new driver where to drive the bus. And yet, the people who are the passengers in the bus cannot open their mouth and say, excuse me, we want to go to Warri. That cannot be Rivers people. I know that we know where we want to go to. We have the capacity to decide where we will go. And I have said before, and I want to repeat it here, that when it comes to the issue of the future of Rivers State, everybody has one vote. Everybody has one voice. The governor, the minister, the senator, the pastor, the teacher, the gardener, the cook, all of us are Rivers people. And it is our responsibility to decide the future of our state. We must take this decision seriously. We must all get up. For those that have registered to vote, fine. For those that have registered and have not collected their PVCs, it is important that we go and collect our PVCs and arm ourselves with our PVCs. With the new electronic accreditation, it is you, those that have the PVC, that will decide where our state will go. It is not the responsibility of any one man. It is not the responsibility of any group of individuals. And like I have said to people severally, being loyal to a political party in the modern world does not mean anything if that loyalty is not rewarded by an upswing in your own lifestyle. Everybody wants a better life. And the reason we give loyalty to the political parties is because they are supposed to have ideologies that will impact your life and help your own children and your family. In those good old days, everybody knew that UPN will give you free education. So it didn't matter what state you were in. As long as it was governed by UPN, you got free education. Everybody knew that NPN will give you free housing. NPN will focus on agriculture. And it didn't matter what state you were in. As long as your government was NPN, there will be free housing schemes. That's how NPN houses, they used to call them NPN houses, were everywhere. But in today's Nigeria, the parties are loyal to no one. They give you nothing in return. And all the loyalty that people give to them become personal tools in the hands of those who wield power in the parties. Today, by the grace of the BIFAS machine, we have the opportunity and the privilege to be able to choose who we want, regardless of what political party they belong to. Because you cannot today say that because PDP is in Akwa Ibom and PDP is in Abia, there is no relationship between what PDP is doing in Akwa Ibom and what PDP is doing in Abia. The governor in Abia will do whatever he wants to do. The governor in Akwa Ibom will do whatever he wants to do. In the same vein, you cannot say that because APC is in Ebonyi and APC is in Kano, that what you will get in Kano will resemble what you will get in Ebonyi. If every governor decides whatever he wants to do in the way that he does it. And so in such a climate, in such a political atmosphere, where the politicians have themselves learned to shoot without missing, we the people are now the birds, and we must learn to also fly without pitching. We must be able to take decisions that will shock those who think we cannot decide otherwise. That is the situation that we find ourselves today in Rivers State. We've launched a new political party in this state called the Social Democratic Party, SDP. It is not a new party, but it offers us an opportunity to be able to do things differently. Because we have said severally, and I want to repeat it here, if we want to see what we have not seen before, we must be prepared to do what we have not done before. If we continue to do the same things that we have been doing, we will continue to see the same things that we have been seeing. It is time for us to get up as men and women with courage and conviction to try something new, so that we will be able to see something new, so that our children can see something new. There are boundless opportunities that God has given us here in the state. We have the natural resources, and most importantly, the most important resource of any society is what is in the head of the people. And we have it in abundance here in River State. All we need are leaders who will bring out the best in us to serve the best of us. That is what I think the state needs at this point. And it is for that reason, Your Grace, that I and members of my team, those who are interested in working with me, have decided to come together to offer a new vista of hope and opportunity to Rivers people. I could go on and on and on, but what I really want to pass on to you all is that what is happening in Rivers State today and in Nigeria today is as much your business as it is the business of everyone else. You should enlighten yourself about it, educate yourself about it, and ensure that all those you know go and get their PVCs so that they can be part of taking the decisions that will affect their future. I thank you for the privilege of this address, Your Grace. And I want to say very clearly that what you have done is visionary, in the sense that you realize in ways that others may not have been able to understand that the church cannot be aloof in this kind of situation. It is important that the right information and the right quality of information is shared amongst us all, so that people can take informed decisions. I thank you for this privilege. I thank you for this opportunity. And most importantly, I want to say here today, because before all of you that are doing the same thing that my father did, that I want to use the privilege of what God did for my father by creating a government that made it possible for me to prosper. I want you to help me, give me an opportunity. Let me do the same for your children. Thank you, and God bless you.
One more time, let's appreciate your accuracy. Your Excellency, thank you. Your Grace and my Lord Bishop,